Huck is kidnapped by Pap and, whilst imprisoned in the cabin, realizes that he needs to find some way to get out of the situation he has found himself in. Huck devises a plan to fake his own death. His plan works, and he is able to escape from the craziness of Pap and the pressure society imposes on him.
Huck has been in a safe place on Jackson Island. He's not too far from home, so he has the option to go back if he doesn't like the life he is about to begin. When he leaves the island with Jim, Huck crosses into unfamiliar territory. The two are beginning their adventure and don't know what lies ahead.
Jim guides Huck throughout the novel while they are together. Jim becomes the father figure in Huck's life now that Pap is gone, and Jim looks out for Huck and makes sure he's always provided for. Huck looks to Jim for guidance and also makes sure that he follows the unwritten rules Jim places. And being his guide, Jim shows Huck that even though they are a different race, they can be close and have a mutual respect for one another. Being with a man of color gives Huck a completely different perspective on slavery.
The idea of slavery is one of the toughest concepts for Huck to grasp. Growing up, Huck witnessed the role models of his life encouraging slavery and the oppression of African Americans. On Huck's journey with Jim, Jim puts a face to slavery. Huck struggles with the idea that people with authority treat other humans with such vulgarity. As he and Jim become closer, Huck struggles with choosing a side between the people that raised him and someone who has been there for him throughout recent hardships.
Huck is constantly battling a society that oppresses African Americans and often struggles with the choice of keeping Jim safe or turning him in. Huck is figuratively shackled to conform to the standard which society has set.
Huck faces his darkest moment when he's contemplating turning in Jim by writing a letter to Miss Watson. Once I said to myself it would be 1,000 times better for Jim to be a slave at home where his family was, as long as he got to be a slave. And so I better write a letter to Tom Sawyer and tell him to tell Miss Watson where he was. But I soon give up that notion for two things. She'd be mad and disgusted at his raciality and his ungratefulness for leaving her, and so she'd sell him straight down the river again. And if she didn't, everybody naturally despises an ungrateful, and they made Jim feel it all the time, and so he'd feel ornery and disgraced. This moment ties in with Huck's struggles with slavery throughout the novel. Huck makes the decision to free Jim no matter what it takes, even if he goes to hell. And ripping up the letter to Miss Watson, Huck's physically showing himself that he's committed to freeing Jim. It was a close place. I took up the letter I'd written to Miss Watson and held it in my hand. I was a-trembling because I'd got to decide forever betwixt two things, and I knowed it. I studied a minute, sort of holding my breath, then I says to myself, all right then, I'll go to hell, and tore it up. It was awful thoughts and awful words, but they was said, and I let them stay said, and I never thought no more about reforming.
When Aunt Polly comes to the Phelpses, it reconnects Huck to his past. In coming, Aunt Polly informs everyone that Jim is free and gives new hope for Jim, allowing Huck to feel accomplished. In the familiar world, Huck feels closure because of his father's death, and Jim's new freedom allows Huck to feel like he's conquered the unfamiliar world.
Huck left because of Pap, who's now dead, and Jim is free. So now Huck doesn't have any more baggage and now has the opportunity to focus on his future.